I am thrilled that Matthew Trueman's in my book, If You Take Away the Otter, has received a Cook Honor Prize. Thank you so much to all of the readers who voted for our book. I'm so touched by your support. I would also like to thank my editor at Candlewick Press, Hilary Van Dusen, who saw the potential in the manuscript and helped guide me through many revisions as the story was shaped into its final form. I'd also like to thank the entire team at Candlewick for the care they took in helping get the book out into the world. And of course, a huge thank you to my co-creator, Matthew Trueman, for his stunning art. And last but not least, I would also like to thank the many experts who helped me during the research and fact-checking process. I am profoundly grateful for their time and guidance. A student asked me the other day if I wrote this book because sea otters are my favorite animal. And I had to admit that although I think sea otters are very, very cool, I didn't write this book because I love sea otters. I wrote this book because it's a story of hope. And as someone who cares about this planet, sometimes I need to be reminded of hope. So many stories about the environment these days are frightening and terrible. Climate change, the destruction of forests and coral reefs, and the extinction of species. It can all seem very dark and overwhelming. But there are stories of light, stories of hope, if we seek them out. And we can use these stories to show us ways we can help our planet. In our daily lives, it can be easy to think that people are separate from nature. But the most important lesson I've learned from the scientists and the indigenous peoples who study our planet is that people are not separate from the natural world. An ecosystem is made up of all the living and non-living parts of the environment, including humans, and the choices people make can have a big impact. Beginning in the mid-1700s, the international fur trade nearly brought sea otters to extinction. In the rush to make money from the sale of furs, thousands and thousands and thousands of sea otters were killed in just a short period of time. Too much was taken without thought to the consequences, and the consequences were major. Without sea otters to hunt and eat sea urchins, the number of sea urchins in kelp forests exploded. Those urchins were hungry and they needed food, so they ate the kelp. And kelp forests all along the Pacific coast were destroyed. The loss of those forests affected other animals that depended on them for food or shelter. But when people protected sea otters and helped them come back, sea urchin numbers fell and kelp forests began to recover. The story of sea otters shows us that when people remove one part of an ecosystem, it can cause devastating consequences to the entire ecosystem. But it also gives us hope for restoration after that devastation. Every living thing on this planet, including you, is connected to others. We humans are a part of the ecosystem, and one of our most important jobs is to understand how what we do affects other living things on the planet. If we change the balance in an ecosystem, there may be consequences that we never expected. But if we pay attention, if we are thoughtful and careful about what we use and why, we can find ways to help, ways to keep the balance. So, how can you get started? The first step I would recommend is to get to know your own ecosystem where you live. Learn as much as you can about the plants and animals, all the living things that surround you every day. Learn their names. Find out what they need in order to live. Even if you live in a city, there are living things all around you. And how do those living things get water or food? Where do the animals sleep or raise their young? And how do you fit into your ecosystem? How does what you do and what you use impact it? The more you look, the more you'll learn, the more you will understand just how connected you are to all other living things. And then you can start thinking about how you can care for them and protect them. Thank you again for this wonderful honor.